It's August 6th, 2022. I'm Todd Dunn, and we're out on our 1972 Allied Princess Sequester again, and sailing a little bit. The wind is kind of fluky. It's been veering back and forth from east to more southerly. So you think you're set, and the wind shifts, and suddenly it's on the nose. Or we had a couple of unintentional tacks earlier where the wind shifted about 90 degrees and then promptly shifted 90 degrees back. We're just now clearing Greening Island. Right there. And on our port bow up here is the Nun buoy. It's on the sort of southeast end of Greening. As you can see, we're going to just sail past it. As long as the wind doesn't suddenly go more easterly, we'll be fine. There we go, we made it. And there's a big boat anchored outside of Northeast Harbor over there. And at least with this wind direction though, it's nice and cool here, so very pleasant temperature out here. Just wish the wind was a little more consistent. Of course, when we came over to the boat, I don't know if you can see it over there past the cranberries, there is a wall of fog, and it was out here in the Great Harbor 30 minutes ago. So just a question of where that goes. It could come back in just as fast as it moved out. And as you look south out the western way, there's a wall of fog out there. I'm sure it doesn't show up on the camera, but you should be able to see some islands, and they're not there today. Right now we're looking southeast. That's Sutton Island on the left, Great Cranberry on the right. You can just see Baker Island poking out of the fog out there between Great Cranberry and Little Cranberry, which is mostly behind Sutton. And we are currently headed on a close reach toward Bear Island, where we will tack and head south. I expect if we went south of Sutton, or north of Sutton Island here, between Sutton and Mount Desert Island, that the wind would be on the nose for a while. Tend to funnel through there. So we'll get over here, tack, maybe get a nice view of Bear Island right after we tack. As we sail toward Bear Island, we're getting a look into Northeast Harbor, and you can see a pretty good sized motor yacht anchored right at the entrance to Northeast Harbor. There isn't room to take a boat that big into the harbor. Looks like at least a 150 footer, maybe a little bigger, and the wind is starting to shift on us here. So to see what happens. It's a light air day out here today, and I just hope the fog doesn't come back. You can see it out there just past Sutton Island and coming up over Mount Desert Island a little bit, just past Seal Harbor. And you can see the fog bank out beyond the Cranberry Islands, and to the south as well, since you can't really see the fog bank, but you can't see the islands that are out there. Well, we're getting close to Bear Island now. I'm just about ready to tack. The wind's a little fluky over here, but we'll go another 100 yards or so, and I think we'll be in steadier wind, and we'll tack over. And we'll get a good close view of Bear Island as we head south. We're headed kind of northeast right now. Alrighty, we've tacked around, and there's Bear Island with its lighthouse. I'll zoom in. Yeah, there's a nice zoomed in view of the lighthouse. And we're getting hit by a wake right now, so I'm a little wobbly, but there are quite a few power boats out here cruising around, making for wakes and going every which way. So a nice view of Bear Island with its lighthouse. And as I've said before, Bear Island belongs to the U.S. National Park Service and is officially part of Acadia National Park. But years ago, the Park Service, rather than pay the upkeep on the lighthouse, decided to lease the lighthouse out to a private party on the condition that they maintain the lighthouse, which they have been doing for 30 years now. And as a consequence, although that is part of Acadia National Park, there goes the Sea Queen, which is one of the water taxis headed over toward the Cranberries. Although Bear Island is part of Acadia National Park, it's not open to the public.
Well, it's nice to be on the shady side.
Yeah. Now today's definitely a light air day. I mean, there are a few boats sailing, but they're probably more motoring. And we're blazing along at 3 knots right now, heading south. At least it's cool. And it's pretty flat. There is, well, I wouldn't say there's a swell, but there are wakes from the power boats that just keep going by in every which way. And there's Greening Island, the east end of it there. We're right out in the middle of the Great Harbor right now. That's Southwest Harbor there. And back astern is Northeast Harbor. And at this rate, if we sail south out the western way toward but not into the fog, it'll take us about an hour. Pretty good sized sloop over there. I don't know what it is. Black hull and looks like colored sails. Maybe they'll put some sail up and we'll be able to see them. Well, I guess I was right when I said it was a light air day. It's turned into an almost no air day. We're going 0.6 to 0.7 knots now. As you can see, it's pretty flat and there really isn't much wind anywhere. Maybe a tiny bit back by Bear Island. But I can feel a little bit now, but as you can see, it's very flat as I move around. Now maybe the sea breeze is starting to come in, and if that happens, we'll have a nice breeze out of the south. Anyway, it's definitely a light air afternoon here on the Great Harbor of Mount Desert Island. As you can see, we're blazing past this lobster pot here. Another 30 seconds or so, we'll be past it. Maybe. As we have another look at Sutton Island. And you can definitely see the fog bank between Sutton Island on the left and Little Cranberry on the right. Well, I think we're gonna try to tack and head toward where there is a little bit of wind. There's none to speak of here. We're blazing along at about 1 knot right now. I don't even know if it's enough for us to tack. So I'm going to tack and head toward what little wind I can see to the east of us. We're pointing south right now.
Yeah, we saw some porpoises, 2 of them, on June 29.
Yeah. Now we just saw a couple of harbor porpoises off to starboard, but after seeing them surface a couple times, they disappeared. Don't know where they went. Well, the wind finally kicked in. We're up to 4.5 knots. We've hit a little faster, but the fog is also blowing in. You can see it blowing in over the point. That is on the man-set shore. And you can see the fog bank building. And behind Great Cranberry, it's pretty substantial. And the wind is coming from where the fog is, so I have a feeling we don't have too long before the fog will be here as well. So we'll just keep going for a while. You can see bits of it over there. There's a patch of fog over the top of Sutton, and even a little patch of fog over part of Mount Desert Island to the right of Bear Island Light. So at least the wind came in. It was we were down to 0.3 knots, but we were still making a little bit of headway. And that wasn't tide, because right now the tide is coming in and we were going against the tide. So now dropped off a little, 3.6, but we're still moving. And we'll have to watch the fog closely. It's starting to come in over Little Cranberry over there. So won't be long before the fog may chase us back into Southwest Harbor. I can see it's definitely blowing in over the point on the man-set shore of Mount Desert Island to our starboard, which is southwest of us. Well, there's Southwest Harbor ahead. We're headed back. The decision has been made that we're headed back to the marina, just because of some slightly reduced visibility. Although it's foggy there, but here, as you can see, we're in bright sunshine. And all the way south, little fog behind Great Cranberry. And Little Cranberry is almost completely obscured, and there's fog going over the top of Sutton Island. So it's one of those funny days that if you're in Southwest Harbor and look out, it looks completely foggy, but if you're out here, it's not. So anyway, we're gonna sail through the fog back into Southwest Harbor. I'm on my course right now, which is about 330 degrees magnetic. And I do have a chart plotter and with our position recorded by GPS. So it's not like I'm going to have any trouble finding Southwest Harbor. Might get a little interesting when we go into the fog though. Well, we decided to furl up before we got into the dense fog, and it's definitely coming in. Opened up a little bit on the man-set shore, but that probably won't last. Great Cranberry is still visible. Little Cranberry's back, but Sutton's going away. And Greening has got a wall of fog in front of it as we head toward Southwest Harbor, which is now opened up. A minute and a half ago, it was completely invisible. So we're going to pack it in and head back into the harbor. Well, we made it back to the marina. As you can see, it's still pretty nice here, unless I turn the camera around. And if we'd waited a few more minutes, this is what we would have had. The breakwater out there is pretty obscure. It's still relatively clear on the south side of Southwest Harbor, but the rest of the harbor is definitely fogging in. We've been sitting here in a boat for a couple of minutes since we came in and watching the fog come in around us. So I think we made the right decision. I mean, sailing in fog is stressful because you don't know what the other guys are doing. But it's a little uncomfortable just because it's really, really damp. But anyway, we're tied up, and we got tied up before the visibility started dropping. When we came in, it was pretty much bright sun in here, and within 5 minutes this happened. So that's a nice little sailing excursion here on August 6, 2022 in Mount Desert Island, Maine, sailing out of Southwest Harbor. We found an open window in the fog and got out there and got back in just in time. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't, why don't you consider subscribing to my channel to see more exciting fog sailing. Thanks for watching.